Hello everyone, this is Dr. Aruna Singh, Associate Professor in School of Education, Noida International University. In B.Ed second semester, we have a subject assessment of learning, and under this subject, today we are going to discuss tests for assessment and evaluation under module 4. We will go through this outline under this video, that is introduction, learning outcomes, concept of tests, then paper, pencil and oral tests, aptitude tests, achievement and diagnostic tests, intelligence test, assignments and references. In this module, we will come to know about some prevailing tests being used in our schools to comprehend, evaluate and accomplish various aspects of teaching and learning via achievement, oral, intelligence and aptitude of the students. After completing this module through this video, you will be able to discuss the concept of tests and tools. You will be able to differentiate between paper, pencil tests and oral tests. You will be able to explain the concept of aptitude tests, their uses, types, discuss and administer the aptitude, achievement and diagnostic tests, concept of intelligence test. Let us first of all discuss what is a test. We all have gone through various types of tests during our educational journey. So tests may be of different forms, such as psychological tests are used to measure mental and behavioral traits. Achievement tests may be used to assess performances of the students, etc. And test can be used to assess both the scholastic and co-scholastic abilities of the students. Now, to know the concept of test, tests are those instruments, are those tools by which the teacher collects information as data through verbal and non-verbal responses of the students. According to Gronald, a test is an instrument or a systematic procedure for measuring a sample of behavior. This is the concise definition given by Gronald, that test is an instrument or it is a systematic procedure for measuring a sample of behavior. And a teacher can collect various types of information by conducting tests or by collecting information in the form of data through verbal or non-verbal responses of the students. So basically test measures what? Test measures few certain these things, like it measures human abilities including intelligence, aptitude, skills and achievements in various areas. Then it measures personality characteristics, which include traits, which includes attitudes, interests and values. Then it measures adjustment and mental health, which involves detecting signs and symptoms of psychological and neurological disorders and appraising the effectiveness of psychological functions. Okay, now let us understand the objectives of test. Test can be used for two broad objectives. First, it attempts to compare the same individual on two or more than two aspects of a trait, such as attitude and aptitude of the same student, right? And secondly, two or more than two persons can be compared on the same trait, like attitude of two students, etc. Tests which we are going to study in this module are classified on various objectives, on various purposes to be fulfilled, which are not only related to the learner but also useful to the teacher and teaching learning process. Some tests have been discussed in this module. Okay students, let us first of all discuss paper pencil test. Paper pencil test comprise a standard test and a very popular test in which a standard set of questions which are presented to the students in writing on paper or on OMR sheets that require completion of cognitive tasks in the form of response by the student on those papers by pencil or pen mark. These responses or answers are summarized, scored to obtain a numerical value that represents a characteristic of the student, for which a numerical value that represents a characteristic of the students for which the test was administered. The paper pencil tests can focus on what the person knows. That means the achievement, we can say. It is able to what the student is able to learn. That means the ability or the aptitude. Choose on select interest, attitudes, or values is able to what he is able to do. That means basically paper pencil test focuses on these areas and we can measure all these areas through paper pencil test. The areas which are difficult to assess, that also can be assessed through this test, that is attitude, intelligence, subject wise criterion test, achievement test and aptitude test. Now next is oral test. Oral tests are those tests in which the response, solution or the task requires oral response to answer of the question. Teacher's conversation with the student for the purpose of assessment. Component of Viva. Viva examinations for completion of a course can be called as oral test. You must have noticed in written test also they little scopes. It's a very little scope for is left for the students to express themselves on every aspect, whereas in oral test students enjoy freedom to express themselves with citing many examples. In oral test, students can figure out their ideas. They can explain well the concepts covered in the discussions. They can use diagrams, they can use charts, maps, models, signs, etc. All these things can be used for asking students to explain various concepts covered in our teaching. Oral tests have proved most valuable when used with students with language disabilities in writing, or with the illiterates, or with the students shy and the small children. Actually, what happens in oral tests, it completely rely on students' oral responses, oral performance to display their cognitive abilities. This may be in the form of an oral discourse or a question and answer session between the teacher and the student. These are effective for students with writing difficulties, but may not be appropriate for students with hearing and speech difficulties or those who are prone to nervousness. For the students of speech difficulties, sign languages can be used, but in an inclusive class setting, sometimes it is not possible to apply sign language as it requires sign language training, both for teachers as well as students. Oral testing is particularly important in language classes because spoken language plays an important role to express oneself. Oral tests focus on students' ability to communicate with what they know and how they articulate the things. Since spoken language is creative and flexible, students may find that oral testing gives them opportunities to self-correct, ask for clarification, and use language creatively. Teachers may appreciate the opportunity to hear students who choose not to speak on a daily basis in class. Oral testing is particularly important in language classes because spoken languages plays an important role to express oneself. Now next in line is aptitude test. Aptitude test is also an instrument used to determine and measure an individual's ability and skills to acquire through future training. Aptitude tests may be classified into two groups, basically multiple aptitude tests and special aptitude tests. Multiple aptitude tests are those which intend to measure various areas of the aptitude. That means musical, mechanical, etc. Each by independent subtests. Whereas special aptitude tests measures only one specific aptitude like teaching or either teaching or musical, etc. So multiple aptitude tests measures abilities of students in more than one area simultaneously by using different sections of a test, while the special aptitude test measures ability of the student in one area. Then aptitude tests are used to predict the future performances of the students. These predictions are for the performance based on specific criteria. For example, you all appeared before an entrance test for admission in B.Ed program. The test included teaching aptitude components required to get into the B.Ed program, which are prior to instructions or placement or training. So aptitude tests are also used for guidance as well as prediction of success in some occupations. Training or academic courses are possible on the basis of scores on standardized aptitude tests. For example, for pursuing teacher education program, one need to have teaching aptitude. For pursuing medical courses, one need to have medical aptitude. For pursuing engineering course, one need to have engineering aptitude. For pursuing medical courses, one need to have medical aptitude, right? For pursuing teaching uh, as a profession, you need to have an attitude as a teacher of good human being. So all this is predicted through aptitude tests. I think I'm clear. Now next in line is achievement test. Achievement tests are administered on students to measure their learning outcomes. These tests are more prevalent in our school subjects. These tests show as to what has been learned by the students rather than to predict the future performance as in the case of aptitude tests. These are teacher made and standardized achievement tests. The choice of your achievement test will depend upon your purpose. The achievement tests can be used for following purposes. First, to know the learning progress of the students, to check any weaknesses in the instructional system, to formulate learning objectives and provide an easy means of critical examination of the content and methods of teaching, to adapt the instructions to the need of individual learner, to know the effectiveness of any academic program. Then now we will talk about achievement tests can be classified as two types of test: teacher made achievement test and standardized achievement test. So how to develop teacher made achievement test and standardized achievement test, this we will discuss in some other module. After achievement test, we generally conduct diagnostic remedial test. Now what is this? Achievement tests, which we have just discussed, they were used to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the students. And now these data, the results of these achievement tests are used in diagnostic tests. The primary purpose of the test is to identify the problems faced by the students in achieving the learning objectives and to suggest remedial measures for them. Such tests are available in various areas such as language, mathematical skills. Diagnostic remedial test is specifically required in case the teacher observe certain learning difficulties in the students. For example, if a student scored 90 marks in mathematics in ninth class, Then he scored 70 marks in 10th class. Then he scored 50 marks in half yearly exams or pre-board. 10th class, if we divide this, pre-board he scored 50 marks, and then in board he scored 30 marks. Then there is a dire need for diagnosing the causes of securing lower marks in subsequent examinations. So accordingly, to provide remedial teaching to the student, these tests, which are devised to diagnose learning difficulties, they are considered as remedial tests. In most of the cases, the remedial tests are subjective and um, individual oriented. If the problem is widespread among the group of the students in a class or a region, then the group remedial tests can also be conducted. Now, next type of test is intelligence test, which we will discuss in different types of tests. The term intelligence is difficult to define in a single sentence. This is acceptable to all of us. But intelligence can be understood as a general set of mental traits, which is often reported as mental abilities. Test of mental ability or intelligence tests measure convergent thinking. Convergent thinking is a process of finding out the solution of a problem. Right? Guilford defines convergent thinking is the ability to give correct answer to standard questions that do not require creativity. For instance, most of the school-based tasks can be done through different tests. Many psychologists and educationists opine that intelligence is a product of heredity and environment, but it is a matter of debate to get the real contribution of heredity and environment for intelligence of an individual. Many researchers they have given different opinions on intelligence. It includes general knowledge, general awareness, reasoning, language abilities, arithmetic, computational skills. So, intelligence can be measured by using individual test or group test of the intelligence. And the intelligence which we measured is called intelligence quotient. That is IQ. Intelligence of an individual can be measured by using this formula. IQ is equal to mental age divided by chronological age multiplied by 100. Now, what is chronological age? Chronological age is the exact age of the individual whom intelligence will be measured. And this can be calculated counting the date of birth of the individual. And chronological age of child never varies. And what is mental age? Mental age is calculated by comparing a child's obtained score from the intelligence test with the average score at his or her age level. For example, if average score in an intelligence test for 6 years age group children is 70 and the child of this age group scored 70, then it will be considered that mental age of that child is 7. So by putting mental age and chronological age in the formula, we can interpret the IQ of a child. And through this table, this is very much clear. If the IQ is under 70, then the category is feeble-mindedness. If it scores between 70 to 79, then it is borderline. 80 to 89, borderline. 80 to 89, dullness is there. 90 to 109, average or normal is there, normal IQ. 100 to 119, superior IQ. 120 to 140, very superior, and over 140. Then it means genius or almost genius. Based on this discussion, concept of tests and various types of tests, now these are few questions you have to do. What do you mean by a test? List different types of paper pencil tests. What do you mean by oral tests? For whom are the oral tests more effective? For whom are the oral tests what is the purpose of diagnostic tests, and define the concept of mental age. These are the references used for preparing this video lecture.